So James, we'll head back all the way to 2004, back when television footage looked just god-awful. It was a thrilling comeback win for the Michigan Wolverines.
I was going to just kind of like gasp when you said that about that 2004 game and watching this film, just how amazing the technology and television's got in a 10-year period. You go 04 to like 2011. It's just night and day. But Tom, this is one of my favorite Michigan football games of all time. So Michigan is down by 17 points, 8 minutes left in the game, and they've got a true freshman running back, Mike Hart, true freshman quarterback, Chad Henne. You think the game's over, and it becomes the Braylong Edwards show. Like, you cannot just imagine being in the stadium. This is not a night game, but it was at night. They brought in portable lights, and it was just Chad Henne throwing the ball up to Braylong Edwards. He scores 2 touchdowns in the final 6 minutes of regulation, scores another one coming up here in overtime we're going to look at, and it was just literally the Braylong Edwards show. He had absurd stats that night, and one of the kind of misremembered, hey, we forgot about this game, is that Mike Hart, as a true freshman, and I think in his 5th, 6th, and 7th games in a Michigan uniform, or 6th, 7th, 8th, got 200 yards rushing for the 3rd straight game against Michigan State. He ended up with 224 yards in this game on 33 carries. I don't know if that's a record or not, but I can't remember a true freshman running back getting 3 200-yard games in a row by his 8th game of his true freshman year. So this is it was really a changing moment for this Michigan football season, because this would have been a loss, would have got him out of the Big Ten title contention. This game was actually on Halloween weekend, the Saturday night of Halloween. I think it was October 30th. It might have been the 31st. And leading into the presidential election, it was John Kerry versus George Bush. So people were taking the Kerry Edwards for president signs, and they were changing them in the stadium to Braylong Edwards for president. So it's kind of a funny setup. People taking people down memory lane there. But that is the most classic game in this history of this series, that 2004 game, mostly because of how down and out the entire stadium was. It was the worst game of all time for 3.5 quarters. Ended up being one of the better games of all time, and going into double overtime.
Let's skip ahead a few years, head now to 2007. Once again, Mike Hart playing a big role for Michigan in this one.
Yeah, and this is another game. Let's talk about the 2007 season. Michigan starts off with a loss to App State, a brutal loss to Oregon, and then they pull off 8 straight games, 8 straight wins, this being one of them. And it was another game. They're on the road. You think it's a loss, and then Chad Henne kind of does what he did in that 2004 game. Just start throwing the ball up to superstar receivers like Greg Matthews, who's only a true freshman on this amazing throw we're showing, and then the game winner, Mario Manningham. One of the better just jump ball plays I've ever seen in Michigan football history, because that was a deep, deep, deep pass that he threw there, and Manningham just outworked the cornerback there. And I think this is just one of those ones that it should have led to more for Michigan. They should have won out that year, beat Ohio State, beat Wisconsin. They ended up losing 2 games at the end of the year. It was an 8-4 season after starting the year top 5. But this is one of the ones I'll always remember on a positive side from the Michigan standpoint.
All right, let's head now to 2012, starting when TV actually looked okay. You guys will be able to tell just how massive the graphics difference is in this one. This was a fun finish, but the start of the game was very slow.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the more ugly games in the history of this series, Tom. And it was only a miracle that Michigan got the win. They're going to get a couple plays by Denard Robinson, including one of a pass over the middle to Drew Dillio, who was a Rich Rod recruit, kind of off his back foot, running to the side and making this play after he had just got a big 3rd down a few plays prior. And then Michigan pulls a last-second spike the ball, get the win with a field goal from Garrett Rivas. And it's really interesting. This was the worst kind of setup that Michigan, or not worst stretch that Michigan ever had. They lost in 2008, 2009, 2010, 2011. They get the win in 2012, finally to snap a 4-year losing streak, only to lose like 3 or 4 more games after that, unfortunately. But if not for this win here, Tom, you're looking at like 8 or 9 straight for Michigan State over Michigan. So it was just kind of like a exhale. We got one against a Michigan State program that had become dominant in the rivalry post Lloyd Carr.
So we have a weighing up now, folks. Your favorite Michigan State memory. Is it the 2004 game for you, James?
It's got to be the 2004 for a couple reasons. Personally, I was there. Secondly, I think there's the emotion of a guaranteed loss to an amazing win. And then, thirdly, I think it just kind of kicked off a fun weekend. If I recall back, it was Halloween weekend. I drove back to where I was living at the time, Toledo, Ohio, and celebrated in only the fashion I can.